All right, let's talk about the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, or FCRA 2010. Now, if you're a CA student, you probably know this one can be, well, a bit of a monster. But don't worry, we're going to break it all down. We're going to focus on the absolute must-know parts that'll help you crush it in your exams and, in the real world too.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll nail down the absolute basics. What even is a foreign contribution? Then we'll look at the no-go zones, who is totally forbidden from taking these funds. After that, we'll cover the 2 legal ways you can get permission, the super strict rules on how to use the money, and finally, what happens if you get it wrong, the penalties.
So, first things first. We can't really get into the weeds of the FCRA until we're all on the same page about its most important term. So let's define what the Act actually means by foreign contribution.
Now, take a look at this. A foreign contribution isn't just a briefcase full of cash. It could be stocks, it could be bonds, it could even be physical goods. The key thing to get here is that if it has value and it's coming from what the law calls a foreign source, then boom, the FCRA applies. It's a really wide net, which is why you have to be so careful.
But just as important as knowing what is a foreign contribution is knowing what isn't. The Act carves out some really important exceptions. And here's the one you absolutely have to burn into your brain for your exams. A donation from an NRI out of their own personal savings account is not considered a foreign contribution. It's treated just like a domestic donation. That's a massive distinction.
Okay, now that we know what we're talking about, let's get into who's not allowed to receive it. The FCRA basically sets up these gatekeepers to protect some really sensitive areas of Indian society. Think of it like a big no-entry sign for foreign money in places where it could have a little too much influence.
And here's the list right here. You can see we're talking about politicians, journalists, judges, government officials. What's the common link? Well, these are all people who have a direct role in shaping public opinion and making policy. The whole idea is to keep foreign influence out of these critical zones, and this list is how the Act does it.
So what if you're not on that list? How can your organization legally accept foreign money? Well, the FCRA gives you 2 distinct doors you can walk through, and you really need to know the difference between them to stay compliant. This slide lays out the 2 choices perfectly. Think of registration as a 5-year multi-entry visa. It's for established organizations with a proven track record. Prior permission, on the other hand, is kind of like a single entry ticket for a specific concert. It's for one project, with a specific donor and a specific amount. It's really the go-to for newer organizations or one-off special projects.
So, you've jumped through all the hoops, you got the permission, and the money has finally hit your account. Time to celebrate, right? Well, not so fast. The FCRA's watchful eye doesn't go away. In fact, this is where the real work begins. Let's talk about the strict rules for actually handling these funds.
This is a big one, folks. Under Section 17, every single groupie of foreign contribution has to land in one and only one designated FCRA account. Now, you can move the money to other accounts after that to do your work, but that initial deposit has to be in this specific account. Why? It's all about creating a crystal clear audit trail and making sure everything is transparent.
And here's another really critical rule. That money flows from the foreign source to your organization, and that's where its journey has to stop. You can't just receive it and then pass it along to another organization, even if that other group is also FCRA registered. This rule is there to prevent any shell games and make sure the organization that gets the money is the one actually doing the work.
So, what happens if you break these rules? Well, let's just say the FCRA has some serious teeth. The penalties for not complying are severe, and they can literally be a death sentence for an organization. The main thing to get about the penalties is that they escalate. A first-time offense, okay, you might get a fine or maybe even some jail time. But if you're a repeat offender, the punishment is absolutely draconian. A 3-year ban on receiving any foreign funds. For most organizations, that's game over. All right, pop quiz time. Let's put this knowledge to the test. So a media house, let's call it Hello FM, wants to use foreign funds to set up a new radio station for news. Based on what we've learned about those prohibited entities in Section 3, is this a green light or a red flag? Go ahead and think about it for a second. The answer is a hard no. Media houses are right there on the prohibited list, making this a clear violation of the FCRA.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought. We've gone through all the rules and regulations, but what's the bigger picture here? How does this law, with all its tight controls and harsh penalties,
actually shape the entire landscape for nonprofits and charities in India? It's a huge question that goes way beyond the exam hall and gets right to the heart of foreign funding's role in our country. Thanks for watching.